Bum, 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 bum. Guilty balls.
Balls. Oh, I do that one sometimes. It threw me up for a second.
I didn't even know what I was doing, and then all of a sudden it turned into that, and I was like, ah,
Smoke on the water.
a
Yeah.
little smoke on the water action. I mean, that's copyrighted. I'm sure that's not what it was.
I think you're allowed to do 4 beats. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, something like
Those
that.
ones are allowed. I have my
Mhm.
gummy bears.
I saw you at the package earlier. I was jealous.
I'd be jealous too.
Is that did you order some? Because I was just telling someone you got your new
These ones I
shipment.
think I just got at the store,
Okay.
but they're good and fresh.
Oh
I
yeah.
was thinking about ordering some for next week, but I can't decide.
What's
It's
next
almost time
week?
to put in like my Easter order too.
Oh yeah.
Last time I got like sour Easter candy and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to welcome all of our listeners. Hello, listeners.
Yes.
Welcome
Hello.
back to the Kilted Balls podcast. Woo! And I'm a little washed out today. Today, I don't know why. Choking on some gummy bears. Hopefully,
Yeah, do
everybody's
you have
doing
extra
great.
do you have
Hmm?
extra light in there or something? Is that what it is? Do you have a new light?
No. Mm-mm.
Huh. Yeah.
In fact, maybe even less light than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope
Oh.
everyone's doing great out there. That
Hmm.
looks no, yeah. Looks like it's in a new spot. It's all right.
Maybe it's because it's a new sock. Oh, if
Listeners, you have no idea what we're
here.
talking about, but Ball is looking extra white today.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely I'm like a lot
Like
extra light.
ghostly almost.
It's weird, 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 weird. I do not understand it, friends. I do not understand it. Sorry. You guys get the washed out look today. This is what
And
it is.
this goes to show it doesn't really matter, does it? We're just doing it.
We're just doing it. Doing
Yeah,
it
you're
either
gonna
way.
go through and edit it and darken it up later.
For sure. Sounds like something I would do.
So yes, remember, friends, chase your dreams. Don't worry about the how. Just do it.
Just
And
do it.
eventually,
I
yeah,
was
you'll figure out the right thing if you want to do it. If you want to do something different to make it better, in your opinion, or whatever. But
Yeah,
just do it.
then you
What
can
were you
do
just
that.
thinking?
I had a student today, kiddo, who was like, didn't answer a question. Then I like answered, and they're like, that's what I was thinking. I just wasn't confident. And I'm like, that's your problem. I go, you're never going to be confident enough. Just go. Do the thing,
Mm-hmm.
answer the question.
Yeah.
I go, and if you're right, yay. And if you're wrong, it literally doesn't cost you anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I go, you can't wait to be confident. It's like people who are like, oh, I'm not quite ready to be a parent yet. You're never ready. When you
Yeah.
think you're ready, you're lying to yourself. You're still not ready. Just
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know about that.
But
Like, wait till you're 30. Actually,
even if you don't, you're still going to be ready.
that is true. You're still not going to be ready. You're exactly right. Well, I was thinking
Mhm.
about that this weekend. This was a fun weekend. Gina's birthday was this weekend.
Yes, I told Amy. She was like, "Oh, I forgot to wish Gina a happy birthday." I'm like, "Call her, wish her happy birthday." She's like, "No, now it's too late." I'm like, "It's never too late."
Never too late.
I go, "It's
But
always nice to get a call and say happy birthday."
yeah, we had some friends over, and of course, Tristan was here, and one of the friends who were over had his oldest when he was 18,
Mm,
and they were talking about that, and Tristan's like, "No, I'm waiting. If I ever have any, blah blah blah." And I was thinking about us, and well, not us, well, because you came up as well, but I guess I'm in your boat now because I laughed at you when you were 42 and you were getting ready to have a child.
yes.
And now I have a child younger than yours, so I'm in that boat. But and then our friend Chuck, who was young when he had his, and then
Super young.
they were empty nesters. You still have kids in high school, middle or even elementary school, and it's just a different game. I mean, things were a lot harder when you're younger, going
Hmm.
through all that, a lot more difficult. You're not as well established, jobs, things
Right.
like that. But as of now, I feel like not really fighting the clock, because my mind is definitely young. I want to keep my body young so I can do a lot of the fun stuff and do the things and enjoy some of those some of the activities and such with my kids that were fun with my when my parents were younger.
No, for sure. The problem, I think, it's interesting. You made me think this. Like when our friend Chuck, had his kids, it was like so weird. And then they
Mhm.
became empty nesters, and it was like, that's awesome. They became empty nesters. But
Mhm.
I think the weird part about it is you set yourself back almost. Not everybody, right? My brother
Yeah.
had his first kid when he was a senior in college, right?
Okay.
But he still went through and did pre-med and all that, but he was able to do it by not sleeping ever.
That
But
works.
and
That's
life
easier.
was incredibly, incredibly hard
Hmm.
during that whole time, right? Until he became a doctor and everything else.
Yeah.
But it feels like for Chuck's group, like it was hard. It was hard for a while there,
Hmm.
all the way until they became empty nesters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It was like Chuck had put his life, well, actually both of them. It was like they put their lives on pause for 18 years, 20 years, and then they're like, okay, now we can live our lives again,
Hmm.
right? Whereas you, at this age, you didn't put your life on pause. You have a kid and your life is just continuing.
Yes. Yes.
So I wonder if other people experience the same thing. Like when they had kids, their life was put on pause, or
Yeah.
they just continued doing what they were doing,
Hmm.
right? So
Well, I mean,
my first kid was 27.
end of college and high school, or I guess just after high school, are two different things. Even that 4 year difference is, I think, a big difference as far as what you'd be
Well, it's
doing and
huge
things
because
like
it's
that.
so hard, as most of our listeners know, to go into college when you have a kid
Mm-hmm.
is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to go to college and provide a living and raise your kid.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, crazy hard.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas once you're through college, now you have a career.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay somebody else to raise your kid.
And that's what some people do.
Right? That's what they do.
Mhm.
They say, oh, I'm sending my kid to daycare,
That's funny.
or they
And I
send them
don't.
to school or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Once you reach that age, then things tend to change for people. It makes life a little easier. You at least have
Right.
a chunk of day where you can do some stuff.
That's what we did. Like when we had Cal, like we were like, oh my gosh, like we're kind of starting over. What are we going to do? And it was like, you know what? We're going to suck it up for 5 years, is what we're going to do. We're not
Mm-hmm.
going to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
But for 5 years, we're like, life is just going to be crap
Mm-hmm.
because we're going to have to be juggling him as a pre-K while we're trying to do all of our professional life.
Yeah.
And I still remember it was funny because we were at like a vacation somewhere. And I'm like, Cal's going to be in school. And all of a sudden, Amy was like, oh, we made it. We made it. Like the end is in sight. We get to start being real people again. He'll be in
Mm-hmm.
school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, you're right. Nice.
We talk about
So,
that when Morgan goes to school, like all the plans that we have and stuff that we want to do once he's in school. Because it's
yeah.
hard chasing a toddler around during the day.
Oh my gosh. You have no time to do anything. They're a full-time gig,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, heck yeah, you're like, somebody else take my kid, teach him
Mm-hmm.
something. I
Yeah.
ain't got time for this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait a second.
So yeah,
So
listeners who have families, I'd like to hear more, right?
yeah,
So
I would
give
love
us a
to hear
comment.
different perspectives from people,
Heck yeah.
as far as being on either part of the spectrum and
Right.
how they made it work and everything.
I'd be super
So
interested.
on top of Gina's birthday, which was awesome, it was Mad Monster weekend. I can't remember if I talked about that or not. That's the horror convention
Yeah.
that comes to Charlotte. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we do on the Friday night. And there's, I would say definitely before this weekend, an acquaintance who I would see there, and what not I guess attracted me to him. The first time I was ever there, it was a Friday night, end of the night, no one's there, everything's dead. We're still wandering around because there's like an hour left or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right there, like all excited. Hey, come on over, blah blah blah. Do you like this? I think he asked me if I liked Cthulhu. And I was like, oh yeah, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm a writer, producer, I make movies, blah blah blah. This is my newest movie. And because he was one still paying attention, like calling people over, he was like standing right in the front of his booth. I'm like, I like this sales guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like his attitude. I like what he's doing. I'm gonna give him $20, take the movie. I don't know if I'll ever watch it or not. And I
Right, right.
watched it. It was a fun schlock, cut him up horror movie. So and then each time I go there, I stop and talk to him and this and that. And I have talked about him before where I might be in the movie. And
Mm-hmm.
if I could screen share something real
Please
quick
do.
and to
Please
give
do.
full credit, this is a clip from Karate Ghost 2 Dojo of Death. And we're about 30 or 33 minutes in here. That's the
Kilted drag with his kilt on.
So if you missed that, it was a very quick cameo. I'm right after this guy. So at the show at this year, well, I guess it's twice a year. That was the thing, but yeah. So yeah, I was super excited that I showed it again. But he had a table set up with like little Karate Ghost characters, and it's like, okay, give me $20, you get a Karate Ghost character, and you can be in the movie. So of course I'm like, okay, James, you're a fun guy. And and I wasn't sure if I made it, and I was talking to him this time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, well, I was wanting to get it, like I was hoping you'd have some here. And he's like, oh, I don't have any here, blah blah blah. He can get it to me. So that was fun, and we were
Kind of like the
talking.
painting.
Yeah, but this was actually happened, and I have an idea
Oh,
for that. I'm gonna when I do, I'm gonna wait till it's been a full 2 years, and I have
okay.
an idea.
All
So
right.
that will be to come, but which is just next month. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So the new movie that he's filming right now is Karate Cop 2, and it's same thing. You had a box of or like a little bag of toys, and you can be in the movie. Blah blah blah. So I was talking to him. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know how you film or what you do, but I have a warehouse. I have an acre. It's wooded all around. It's hilled in the back and blah blah. Just explain the location. Like if you ever need to film and you're in the Charlotte area, go ahead. Because I did notice in one of his previews, I said, was that Lake Norman? It looked like you were jet skiing on Lake Norman. He's like, oh yeah, it was. We did some filming around here and this and that. So
Nice.
then he's like, oh, can we blow some shit up? And I was like, well, how big of an explosion? And the term he used, I didn't understand. And so he's like, not very big. And I was like, yeah, just, let me know. And the guy he's working with, he wasn't very excited about it, you could tell. And so I was just like, well, just let me know. Like, just message me. And
Mm-hmm.
so Saturday, he ended up messaging me like, hey, can we do something tomorrow? And I was hoping to share some of that, but I don't have because I don't have an Apple phone anymore. So I can't share like any of those videos onto the screen, but I can say,
You could email it to yourself and show it.
oh, that's true. Maybe I will next week. But the whole like one of the big plans were
Do you
we'll
see what a tease kilted is? I just want to point that out to the audience. Oh, I got this great
uh,
video.
uh,
Maybe next week.
but I will have a great video because tomorrow at noon a car is being delivered, and we're gonna do what the videos were showing to the car, so it can be in one of his upcoming movies. So
Nice, nice. Do you guys have to like pull permits and stuff?
but we're not in the
Eh,
city. Although, although we were in the back, and one of the neighbors came over, and they're like, and I wasn't out there. One of his friends were, and they're like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, we're just blowing some shit up." And they're like, "Oh, that would have been fun to see. We were wondering what you're blowing up."
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
So yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm not like 100% sure.
Hmm.
I'm semi-confident when you blow up cars that you need permits.
Well, it's not blowing up the car. It's creating explosion inside the car.
Well, next week, people, I'm gonna be
So
shooting this episode by myself. So that'll be fun.
so
Kilton is not going
yeah.
to use his one phone call to shoot the episode.
You don't think so? So yeah, and it goes back to a lot of the stuff we're talking about, and something that you know, you had brought up that you heard from your child, that part of the plot. Like it's been really fun. It's been cool hanging out with him. He is a really cool guy. His name's James Balsamo, and if you like, and he does some of his movies are more family oriented, and that's what the Karate Cops is, more of a family oriented movie. And
Nice.
we were hanging out a little bit today, and they were actually doing some filming, you know, where we're at, and so yeah, you might see cameos from some other family members and stuff in Karate
That would
Cops
be
2.
super amazing.
So yeah, that's pretty fun. He's like, "Don't you want to get in and have some lines?" I'm like, "I already got killed." I said, "I got killed at the show." He's like, "Oh, but I'd use the lines instead." I was like, "No, that's fine." But it was fun, and it's been a good experience. So I don't know, like I said before, I would consider him an acquaintance before, and maybe, you know, a little bit more than that now, and who knows, like in the future, if we hang out some more or if we don't. And so yeah, it was just cool. Meet cool and hang out with cool people. Do fun stuff.
No, that is amazing. I think that'll be super cool.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to see you in it, though I don't know if I would watch the whole thing. I'd watch the part with you in it.
No,
And for
yeah,
sure the part with the explosions, right?
yeah, yeah. The explosions were really, really cool. I guess he wanted to do some exploding in November when they were filming, but they
Yeah.
couldn't. They were filming more in the city, and he lives in LA, so there's no exploding stuff there.
No, do they not allow that there?
I guess not. It's frowned upon.
Okay.
Mhm.
But
But
apparently in
when you
North
live in the
Carolina it
country,
is.
rules are different. Rules are different in the country. You know that.
I mean, I did live in the country and most of the time we were pretty good. So, but
Hmm.
I don't know if I ever blew up a car.
I am at least as much. I mean, yes, Charlotte's bigger than Lansing, but
Way bigger.
as far as the distance away, I would say I'm further up than you were, away
From
from the
then from
city.
Lansing, yeah, you might
Yeah.
be right, except for you've got all those other little cities around, right?
Well, there was Okemos and Williamston and Weberville, so
Mm.
little towns.
Wait, are you comparing what are you near? Mooresville with Weberville? I mean, we have classmates who live in Mooresville. I don't know if they're listeners, but I'd like their take on whether Mooresville is equal to Weberville.
Maybe not quite. So we'll see. It'll be fun. It'll definitely be a good time.
Oh my gosh, right?
And I'll have to email the stuff to me to myself so I can put it on there. It's a good
Yeah, for
idea.
sure.
It's good.
You can
Good thing.
email it to yourself right now.
Yeah, we got other stuff to talk about. We gotta have people a reason to tune in next time to
That's
see
true,
the
people.
explosion.
See the videos of the explosions. As long, you know what, you probably should just email it to me
That's a good idea.
because
Well, I did.
you're probably going to be in jail. So no,
No.
you texted me. You texted me.
Oh, that's not the same thing.
It's not the same. Otherwise, I would have emailed it,
Oh, okay.
right? But if it was emailed, I'd just pull it up right here and share my screen
Okay.
like a
But
cool
yeah, it
cat.
was a It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Ooh, you could make them into YouTube minis.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah, but it's, I mean, I could do that, but like, I guess part of me is like, that's not my footage. If that makes sense. Yes, it
No, I
is. I'm
get you.
recording. I'm recording it, but
Oh, if you're recording it, it is 100% your
yes,
footage.
but it's something that's being used someplace else. Like I'm not going to post pictures from today where they were shooting. You know, those are for myself. I'll show some friends and things like that, but
Hmm.
I'm not going to put up a bunch of pictures from the movie.
I get
Same
you.
idea. Yeah. But I'll show the car explosion. That'll be sweet.
Speaking of Weberville,
Mhm.
when they shot the Transformers in Weberville, I had no issue taking pictures and sharing those pictures
Oh
or
yeah.
video.
I forgot when they I did do that. Which Transformers was that? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I don't know, 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
They used 52 because it's flat and long and
Yeah.
straight. And they were like, this is just like driving through the desert. We'll use that.
Yeah. Sort of.
Sort of. Mid Michigan.
Hmm.
I ain't wrong though. I ain't wrong.
Yeah. So it's
Well,
been a
that's amazing. And it sounds like a wonderful time,
hmm
I think. So what else is new besides that? Like that's pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah, that was most of my week. Just like my, getting not mentally prepared because it's always we always have so much fun when we go to the Mad Monster, and it's a chance for Gina and I to get away. We have dinner, we go to the work at the show when it opens and we close it down. It's only open from 6 to 11, but it's 5 hours. It's us, and usually Tony and Cynthia are there, which it's always awesome to hang out with them. So, it's just adult time, and we have a great time.
I didn't know you guys were allowed adult time.
That's we get 2 Fridays each year. That works
Huh,
out perfectly. Two
two.
Fridays for 5 hours. But yeah, and it was cool because there was a lot of new. I don't know if it's because the spring is definitely not as busy as the fall, right? Just makes sense. But there were a lot of new people there, and they had a lot of different stuff. And I'm new to those kinds of shows. I have only been to a few of them, but I'm seeing where it looks like the popularity of some of the events are making either people in the business or whatever take note, because I probably saw 6, 7 booths where they had like just the random horror stuff,
Hmm.
and some people had different, like each booth had like their own thing, but some people had like, maybe a certain percentage that would look like they were all buying from the same person who was bringing it in. So to me, that was super interesting. Like, okay, someone's noticing that there's enough people coming to these events where I mean, you got to be bringing in containers, that they're bringing in containers of this stuff. It was like
Hmm.
a replica Texas Chainsaw Massacre um chainsaw. There was a replica Killer Clowns from Outer Space popcorn guns,
Oh wow.
big items like that, to where people were carrying around these giant boxes
Hmm.
of these things. So I thought that was the business mind in me was paying attention to that, and I thought that was super cool.
Are you starting to get any itch to do shows?
Yeah, but I'm glad I sold my van.
So that you won't have to do any shows?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Gina and I talk about it with some of our ideas that we have, to
Hmm.
do smaller stuff, but it would be easy and hard to get back on the road. But the family life, and because we wouldn't both be able to go, so that would be me leaving
You're
and
right.
going away for 4, 5, 6 days a week, depending on the weeks and the distances and things like that. And that's really not something I'm interested in. I mean, of course, the money, it was always awesome because it's a different game where it's just online as opposed to, especially, I was traveling 30 weeks a year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, like there were a couple small shows in Charlotte. I debated on throwing a bunch of sheets in the van and just driving up there and asking if they had an extra spot. So that's good and bad because if they did have a spot, that means it's probably not a great show. If you get enough of a
Right.
discount, it's fine. But and if they don't, then whatever. Kind of wasting your time and energy.
It's definitely kind of a weird thing. Like sometimes I get the itch to do some shows, and other times I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm like, handling all that cash is fun.
Yes, exactly.
But also I don't like working, so it's a tough call, tough call.
So going back and forth, I imagine in the next couple of years, I would pick up a couple random shows here and there. Maybe not sheets, and I
I
would
was gonna say
doubt
maybe not
sheets, but
sheets.
yeah, but some
I know
other
I'd like to
stuff.
find a product that's not candy or sheets, but little
Hmm.
and high ticket, right? Like that'd be
Hmm.
fun.
Everyone wants. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, that'd be a great thing. I'd like that. Like maybe we should do something like that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
I'm
seems like
always
the right
impressed
call.
by the artists. There's a lot of people doing really cool stuff, but I'm looking like what the manpower takes. Like, oh my gosh. Like there was one guy, he does like dioramas of the old VHS covers. So he'll make them 3D and some of them he'll change up a little bit, but some of them are big and some are smaller VHS size.
Right.
But just like the amount of work that would take in all of the, because he's not buying them. Like he talks about it, like, oh, I made
Hmm.
this one last week and I made this one a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to this show, so I wanted to have a few of these. So, like, kind of like what I used to do, but during the week, he spends all of his time making stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, that doesn't sound great, right? On the other hand, our friend Paul would always be like doing his art like in the booth, right? So
Yeah.
he's there all day, but he's working all day on his art. And like people would come up and talk to him, and he would talk to them while he's doing his art. And
Yeah.
then they would buy stuff, and he was still just doing his art.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's really
Not
cool.
not great, but it's not too bad.
Well, everyone has different expectations and things that they want out of life.
Right, right, for sure, for
Mhm.
sure. I think that often, like I watch people do stuff and I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like I'm good with where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when people we talk often now with like all the people dying, like people who really want inheritances or expecting that. And like we've told our parents, we're like, we don't need anything like that. Like we're all happy where we're at. So
Hmm.
spend your money, blow your money, give it
Hmm.
away, make a cat sanctuary. We're like, we really don't care.
Yeah.
Like we're good.
That's a talk we've had. We just ain't. It was how long ago was it? Within the last few months, Gina and I were talking about that. How different people act when things like that start coming up or start coming into the picture, or parents or relatives start getting old. Like it's really, really strange. It's really strange. It was strange to both of us, just like to think about that. Like you would people compromise themselves, their loving relationships that they've had for all these years in hopes that they're going to get extra money in the bank or extra whatever. So
Well,
yeah,
and
it
the
just
weird
seems.
thing is, and I've seen it a lot, again, a lot of death lately, but like somebody will die and they'll like go to the reading or whatever, and then they'll be super pissed at the family because they didn't get as much or they didn't get this, or one person got all of it to like divvy up and they're mad at how they're like divvying it up and like they become enemies. And I'm like, what? Yeah, like that you never had that money. It was
Hmm.
never your thing. Why are you getting upset with your sister, brother, mother-in-law? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
none of that makes any sense. Like,
Hmm.
it wasn't yours. Why do you
Yeah.
think you should get it?
Yeah.
Like, it just boggles my mind, right? Like, people, sometimes people are more entitled than they should be,
Hmm.
or maybe they shouldn't be entitled at all, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's kind
Yeah.
of a
It's a
weird
it's a
thing.
weird thing. Yeah. Exactly.
we're there, baby. We're there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because
Mm-hmm.
on one hand, I think you should always feel entitled, but not with stuff like that, right? Like that's weird to me. You shouldn't feel, here we go. Like I tell people all the time, you should act with confidence. You should act like you're entitled to whatever you're dreaming the
Mm-hmm.
universe throws at you. You should
Mm-hmm.
not feel like you're entitled to other people's stuff.
Yes. Yep. That's
Like
exactly what I
other
was going to
people's
say.
stuff is their stuff and
Mm-hmm.
their thing and their bag. You should feel entitled to your stuff and your
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah, you're
Not,
definitely entitled to everything the universe has to offer. Like,
yes,
definitely.
but you shouldn't be looking at like I shouldn't be looking at your Tesla and being like, that should have been my Tesla. That should be
Mm-hmm.
mine. Like you should just give
Mm-hmm.
that to me because that should be my Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, no, like that's your thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yep.
like I wouldn't expect you to be like, hey, that truck should be mine. What? No. Like it's
Well, it's
my
in my
truck.
name, right? I mean, I'm
Well, I
waiting to
did
come
put
up
it
to
in your
Michigan
name
to get it.
just
Okay, good.
so I could write it off.
There you go.
So yeah, it's
No.
kind of a weird thing. So we believe in being entitled,
Mhm.
but we believe in being entitled to the stuff that you do, not
Yeah.
being entitled to other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
unless we can trick you out of it, and then that's totally good.
Exactly. Well, it can't. Well, because Gina has had death in her past,
Hmm.
and I forget how it came up, but we were talking about it. She's like, "Well, or like, what if something happens to you?" I said, "If something happens, like a lot of stuff. Brian knows everything else, and he'll help you through it. like, like that's it. Like,
Right.
I trust him enough to come down and to access wallets and things like that, and
And
all
figure
the
it all
important
out.
things. Yeah.
And then he'll divvy it up the right way and
Mm-hmm.
you all
I
just
said he
call it
knows
good.
what Cal takes, and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. And how much is he going to take? Nothing, because he doesn't care.
No, but Cal gets some stuff for sure. I guess I
Oh,
have to
I'm
make it
sure
will.
Cal should get
Mhm.
something like a
Well, that's
coin.
not. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. But it was something that came up in conversation, and that's kind of how I feel
Well,
about
yeah, I would think so because she's been through it, right?
it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that would be a thing that would come up, I would think. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, well, I don't know.
What about you? Anything exciting happened with you besides your busy life is coming to an end for this year?
Right? Well, my life isn't coming to an end, but you're right. The busy time is kind of nearing the end, which is super nice, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
today, like I was at work until late, like 5 or so, but like I was leaving with my daughter and I was like, it doesn't feel bad when you're not forced to do it. When it's like your choice. It's kind of like I was in college. Like I hated reading books in college that someone told me I had to read, but I loved reading books that I just wanted to read, which has, I mean, full disclosure, been the MO for my entire life, right? Like when people say
Mm-hmm.
I have to do something, I kind of dig in my heels. I don't know why, but when it's my choice, I do whatever the heck I like. I don't mind doing it. Um, on a funny side note, I don't remember how it came up, but we were talking about varsity jackets. I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
nieces was over something,
Yeah.
and I was like laughing about my jacket because I'm like, yeah, in high school, my jacket was like made out of metal.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, what? And my wife's like, oh no. She goes, it seriously was. It was like covered with like metals. I'm like, yeah, I go, it still has some on it, not as many. And they're like, what? I'm like, I'll show you. And so I like went to my basement and found
Mm-hmm.
my varsity coat and brought it up, and they're like, that's a ton of metals. And my wife's like laughing because she's like, um, that's seriously not even half. He has a coffee can full of medals. And so when we were in high school, you put all your medals on your jacket, or a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people did. But two things were funny. Thing one, nobody could understand why our jackets are blue.
I had one of the first purple ones. Mine's actually
Did you?
purple.
Because they
Mm-hmm.
were like, why is there no purple? I'm like, purple's royalty. Like everything's blue. They're like, no, like, but your colors weren't blue. I'm like, I'm just telling you, everything was blue. Like, even our
It
uniforms
was.
were blue. Like nobody had
Mm-hmm.
purple. That must have been pre-purple. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. So they were like, that's weird, blah, blah, blah. And then in this one, we were going to hope to tap into your brain. I reach into one of the pockets and there's stuff in one of the pockets.
No way.
So there was a Hot Wheel car. They're like, did you find money? I'm like, no. There was like a Hot Wheel car. Like maybe some
Mhm.
kid put it in there. There was a dime. There was like a little ticket for a theater, like a little half ticket.
Mhm.
And then this. Can you see it? The light is
Can't
coming
see what
over.
it
There we
says
go.
on there. Cheryl 2237589. Who is that?
They're, I don't know. They're like, you have a girl's number. And I'm like, I don't know any Cheryls.
Yeah. That was before area codes.
I'm like, they're like, is that 517 or 313? And I'm like, probably 517, but I think it was like you didn't worry about the code
Yeah, it's
back then. And
517.
she's like, you got some girl's number in your coat? And I'm like, I wouldn't have taken a number from somebody named Cheryl.
I don't remember any Cheryls.
Well, so then Brendan and I were like Googling the number and the Cheryl, and it's somebody in like Weberville on like Coon Lake Road.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, like for sure, I don't know who these people are. Right.
Mhm.
And I think they're still in
Yeah.
the Fowlerville area. And I finally found a picture and I'm like seriously, like this is nobody I know. My wife's like, because they probably just like walked by and gave you the number. And I'm like, I don't know. That seems a little sketch that it would still be in my pocket.
Yeah.
Like I go, that doesn't make a lot
Because
of
like
sense.
when was the last time you would have worn it? Like sometime senior year, like before it started
Right?
getting warm.
Like I wouldn't have wore it while it was warm. Would I have worn it? I was trying to think, would I have worn it at all in college?
I hope not. I didn't wear mine.
But every once in a while, you would see people wearing varsity coats at college. I'm like, would I have been cold and worn that?
Would you have had it at college?
Would I have even had it at college? And I don't think I would have because, like, the thing weighed 100 pounds. It was
Yeah.
covered in metal.
Because even the reunions have been in the summertime, so it wasn't like you would have, haha, let me wear it to a reunion. It'd
Right,
be
right.
funny. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cheryl, if you're listening.
I was like, maybe Kilted knows Cheryl. So we found her name. I don't remember what it was. I closed all those tabs. Brendan and I did. But we were like laughing. I'm like, I have no idea who this is, why I would have their number, why it would still be in my pocket. Like, there's nothing in my brain that ties into this. It was like Cheryl Bourne. That's what it was. Cheryl Bourne. I'm like, for sure, I don't know who that is. And they're like, how can you be certain? And I'm like, well, because I like the Bourne movies. I would have associated it
Well,
with somebody if I
would
knew
that have been
somebody.
the maiden name though? That would have
That's
been
their
the
maiden name.
Okay, Cheryl Bourne. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I go, maybe Jerry was closer to Weberville, so maybe Kilton knows that.